right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Conservatish episode 165. My name is Peter Feliciano. Make sure you find me on Instagram at Peter_Feliciano, on TikTok at Conservatish for now, until the Chinese kick me off. And then you can find me on Twitter sometimes at Rule62Peter and Patreon and Venmo and all that crap too. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my esteemed privilege to welcome Shemeka Michelle onto the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you having, listen, that's how tired I am. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful pronunciation. First things first, where can people find you?
If they go to ShemekaMichelle.com, find me there. They can find me anywhere. They can click on the link to purchase my book there. They can find all of my social media links there. So that's why I just normally send people to ShemekaMichelle.com.
Okay, rock and roll. And you're on Twitter and you're on all that other stuff.
I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, although I never really pay much of attention to LinkedIn. I don't even know if I have that link on my website, but definitely my YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
MySpace, Friendster, all that stuff.
I know, right? What else? Black Planet. That was like years ago.
Well, I'm only half Puerto Rican, so maybe that's why I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, I never was on MySpace either.
Really?
Yeah, I was never on.
You didn't really miss much. You didn't really miss much. It got bogged down with all kinds of weird nonsense, just like everything does.
Oh, good. Yeah, I missed that.
I would rather have MySpace, like 2007, 2006 MySpace, than Facebook and Twitter, where they're censoring people these days. I would much rather have that bogged down mess of videos and sparkly lights and MySpace, 2005 era.
Right.
But anyway.
They're crazy right now with the censor. I need to turn you up so I can really, really hear you.
That is the first time anyone has ever said that about me. That's
Really?
I'm a loud person. Yes.
Oh, and I don't know. Maybe I'm just deaf right now because I can't hear you. I can hear you a little better now. I turned you up.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Better be recording right.
Still kind of soft. Maybe I'm really am getting old.
No. One day when you reach 30, you'll understand. You know things start to leave, but not your hearing yet. You'll be all right.
Okay.
So I've been following you for a while. You're friends with little Mike Harlow, running around the Walk Away campaign. Love him. And I started following you. It's been, just to give you a little backstory of what my dumb crap is I started my podcast a couple years ago. I'm a musician, singer, songwriter. I was from the Bay Area. As it is in a lot of different realms of art and business and whatever, it's difficult to not have 100% liberal ideals in music. Especially, I would write and sing hip hop hooks for rappers around the country and around the Bay. And it started there was this vibe growing. I voted for Bernie and then Hillary in 2016. And then everybody on my side, on the liberal side, just started losing their shit. And so I was just like, something's wrong here. You know who it was? It was Milo Yiannopoulos. Milo Yiannopoulos, actually, when everybody was just like, he's Satan, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, let me do my own research. And I started to do my own research and started to realize, I don't know. I mean, I don't agree with everything the motherfucker says, but like, I could get along with, he's not Satan. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, he's over the top for sure, but so am I, and so are some of my favorite artists, blah, 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 or speakers. And so I started this podcast essentially to like humanize conservatives,
right.
And, to have a place to humanize both sides for everybody. And especially since George Floyd was killed in May, and I saw a lot of my white, social media friends and fans and blah, 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 saying weird stuff like white people don't get to have a say, and it's time to just shut up and listen to black people, and it's so simple, and blah, blah, all that type of stuff. I was like, I am never gonna let these people forget this. So I've been posting like every single, already I'm half Puerto Rican, and yet I don't subscribe to the whole everything, whatever. So I just am throwing every type of, I want to kill this identity politics as best I can, or at least humanize people who disagree. And you have obviously had a very what was loving, I watched that little video of yours today, the one where you were talking about charter schools.
Yes.
Yeah, and you have 3 kids who all went to charter schools.
Yes. I have 3 daughters, 15, 17, and 24. So yes, all 3 of them went to charter schools, and I never really understood that there was opposition against charter schools. I thought everybody just loved charter schools, and I didn't really realize until I got into politics that there are people who hate charter schools. And so when I think about the fact that President Trump is pro-choice, pro-school choice, I'm just like, I don't understand how anyone could vote against him for that reason alone. The schools here, we have several charter schools, and they're all predominantly Black, or most of them are predominantly Black. So I'm just thinking, how do you feel like that's okay to take that choice from those parents who are trying to provide a better education for their children? Because when I was 26 and my daughter was going into kindergarten, it like I was happy that I didn't have the money to afford to send her to private school, but I was happy that I had another choice besides traditional public schools, because I was terrified. I didn't want her going into a traditional public school from what I saw with the kids, and some of them, the way they behave, I didn't want her there. So I was glad that I had another choice. And so, although my youngest child is 15 and they all filtered into public schools for high school, I want other parents to have that same choice. So I'm still for school choice because I think it's just so important.
What was your experience when you first were doing that? I've heard that it's all lottery based. Is that what it was?
When she first went into school, it wasn't. It is now, but it wasn't when she first went in. It was a brand new charter for this area. So in her class, I think there was like 13 kids, and I think 3 of them were Black. So it started out a predominantly white school, and it was very small. They had it in a church, but then once she went into first grade, they actually built a building, and it has grown. By the time my youngest daughter came out 2 years ago, it was predominantly Black. So it had changed, but it was great because I guess more parents realized that they had another option besides the public schools. And I just thought it was very hands-on. I was like, I actually ended up working there because I was there so much volunteering,
Right.
that they ended up finding me a job because it was just so hands-on. I was so involved. It was like a small family, the charter school community, that particular school. I don't know. Everyone that I know that attends charter schools seems to love it, but that school in particular, they got on my nerves sometimes because I am one of those helicopter moms. And, when you would have administration to, someone new would come in, then they had to get familiar with me all over again. Right. So I did run into some problems sometimes. Sure. I was banned once.
You're on the right show.
Right. But, I had to let them know, no, I am that parent. I want to be involved in my child's education process, and you're not going to keep me out of here because, again, you would have someone new that came to the school that didn't know who Shemeka Michelle was, but I made sure that they quickly found out.
Did the helicopter parenting, as you put it, did that come from your parents? Were they that type of parent as well? Or was it something you were modeled in some other way?
I don't think my mom was. I mean, she was involved, but so I'm a product of rape. My mother had me, she was raped at 14. I was born when she was 15. So I had a very young mother, but she was always physically present. Like I remember her being at PTA meetings and at games and being involved, not as much as I was. Like she wasn't bringing cupcakes to the school like I was and feeding the teachers. Like that was me. I was there volunteering and running off papers and grading papers. She wasn't that involved, but I think the helicopter parent maybe came from watching TV. I don't know, just looking at, I don't, Carol Brady or June Cleaver. I don't know. I think just wanting to be there is crazy, because even when I was in college, my major was biology, and people would always say, well, what do you want to do? And I would say, be a housewife. So it was like, though I was in college, I knew that I wanted to be a housewife and be there for my husband and be there for my children. And I guess it came from TV, because I didn't grow up with a father. My grandfather wasn't in the home. So my grandmother would always say to me, when she would watch me serve my husband's plate, she would say, I don't know where you got that from, because you didn't get it from me. So I don't know. It must have been TV.
When you were growing up, I mean, I know how often, I was going to say, has this ever happened? But I'm going to say it's probably definitely happened. How many times have women tried to pressure you to not, or like look down on you for what you would say? Things like, I want to be a housewife. Was that ever some pressure that you got, or?
I think once I got older, not when I was younger, because I think people probably just thought, okay, she's crazy. Like 18, nobody really takes life seriously. So when I was saying that at 18, 19 years old, they were like, okay. But
Right.
at 30, I do feel like sometimes women would say something, in little slick ways, as if which I do think that I lost myself. Now, let me be honest. I do feel like I lost myself in my husband and my children when I was married. But I loved being a housewife. I loved being a mom. And so I do think women would kind of give little digs, because especially if they worked outside of the home, or if they were business owners, they would give little digs to me as if I should be doing more, which I do think at times I could have been doing more, but I don't regret being present for my kids and being available to them when they got out of school, to help them with homework and to make dinner for them. I don't regret, being able to see them off to school and in the mornings and waking them up. My two youngest kids are still in the house, 15 and 17, and I still sing them a good night song every night.
Yeah.
And I just don't regret that. Like, it's been great. And hopefully, they won't turn out to be bums. It'll
Yeah.
it'll be, like, I'll be able to see the fruit of my labor, and that it'll be good fruit.
Right. There's something that this is, as much as I want to like be anti-identity politics, or maybe this is not identity politics, but I do think that certain there's some, especially community-wise, like Black mothers have a severity. They have a severeness. They get a little intense when it comes to like when they want to like really get, Kevin Hart talks about it in his book, how his older brother started selling drugs and started stealing and his mom like locked him down, and how he had a resentment towards his mom. Why can't I do anything? My older brother got to do everything. And she's like on the bus with him to swim meets and to this. Right. And she had a severity where like, no, this is not going to happen. And had a, was not right. afraid of the not afraid of confrontation.
Right, definitely.
You know what I mean? And I'm not saying all white moms have that fear of confrontation, but a lot of, at least what we see on TV is like this idea that like, oh, whatever you say, and no, Dakota, please don't hit him. There's a lot of that running around. Right. I've been helped a lot in my life by structure,
Right, definitely. My kids call me Mama Bear. So when things go wrong at school, I can be so bad that sometimes they'll say like, no, Mom, don't worry about it. I got it. Like, I'll handle it, because they know I am going to come in and I'm willing to rip someone's throat out, chew it up and spit it back in their face over my children. Like, I just do not play when it comes to my kids. So, yeah. And I want them to, I sometimes listen to parents when they say, yeah, and so snuck a boy in. And I'm thinking, well, what kind of mama are you? Because my child would never even think about, like, my children wouldn't even try to sneak a boy into the home, or, go out and be smoking or doing something that they know I would just totally not approve of. And I feel confident in saying that because they know that, I can, not be wrapped so tight.
Yeah.
And they're afraid. And I'm fine with them being a little afraid of me.
Yeah, that's okay. I've been working on this idea because I've seen a lot of these liberal people. Like, I feel like the animus, the juice underneath a lot of liberal, not all, but a lot of liberalness, and especially the real stubborn ones, is an anger at authority. They're still mad at their dad. They're still mad at that bully at school. They're still mad at whatever, and they haven't done the processing work to get the fuck over it. And so they're just projecting that on Trump, on police, on any authority at all. And they just think, if we just wash our hands of all authority and all structure, if we just tear it all down, we'll build it all back better. And it's just insane, man. It's just insane.
Is. And I think that's why it's so funny, because I'll see people like having this animosity towards the police, and everybody's acting like, oh, he was such a great kid. And I'm like, probably not. This was probably the child that was in school that when you said, I'm going to call your mama, he said, call my mama.
Right.
So, like, please, this whole, disrespect for authority starts in the home. I've watched it. I see these kids. I worked at a school, so I see these kids be disrespectful to the teacher, disrespectful to the principal. When they call the mama comes in, and the mama has no respect for anyone, and she just sees that her child does no wrong. And these are the kids that end up going out, getting into confrontations with police, and get shot. Right. Sorry, I know that's not the popular thing to say, but these are the kids a lot of times that end up behind bars, or dead.
Right. I had a anonymous San Francisco teacher on my show. Everyone go watch that episode. And she talked about how she's, a nice little liberal white girl. And she talked about how white guilt in San Francisco public schools is actually hurting Black kids. Because what would happen is more Black kids, especially, actually, I think it was equal Black girls and boys, would end up in detention. And so what the white liberals in the administration decided, what we're going to do is we're just not going to have them go to detention at all.
Oh, yeah.
We're just not going to have any consequence at all. And so therefore, all these Black girls are literally like on their phone. This is like 7th, 8th grade, just on their phone the whole time. And you can't take their phone. That's personal property. You can't reprimand it. You can't, all you can do is say, hey, parent, and have a little sit down, and the parent will hopefully maybe do a consequence. It's like, that white guilt is actually hurting Black kids.
It is. I've seen them. So there were kids at the school I worked with in 1st grade that had to have an adult go, like, be with them all day, because they may just get so angry that they want to start throwing books or throwing chairs. And so there had to be an adult that, went with them all day. Like, I never saw that type of stuff growing up. Right. So when did it become okay? Like, for children, literally, there was a child who used the bathroom on himself. This smart kid, very smart, like, could carry on a conversation with you, purposely used the bathroom and took and smeared feces on the wall. And it was, it's nothing we can do. Or no, like, where are these kids coming from that all of a sudden can't sit in class? And I know we hear, they have ADD or ADHD or whatever. No, what they had when I was growing up was a lack of discipline. What they lacked was maybe a good spank on the behind, or, like, now they're running rampant in the schools, and it's not helping, because when they go out into the real world, no one cares whether or not they had someone walking with them in school. No one says, did you have to have a helper in second grade? You know, did you get so angry and mad that you needed somebody to hold your hand? No one cares. By the time you're 17 and you're out here acting like a jackass, you're going to be penalized for that. And so I think it does the kids a huge disservice to not discipline them at this young age when it's needed. You know, I just think it's terrible, and it's not helping anyone.
Right. And there are the rare cases that she was also talking about. There are the rare cases that actually genuinely have, autism or a different,
Right.
And there's obviously spectrums and whatever. But sometimes rather than give them a diagnosis and get them with the people who can help them or with the meds that can help them, that's going to die. They're going to have a stigma. And so we don't want to stigmatize. And so we're going to stick them in this class. Well, all these other kids,
right,
they need help too. Like they need attention too. They need someone. So if we slow everything down just to meet this one person's needs, now all these other kids are bored or distracted or, whatever. It's crazy.
That's what I liked about charter schools, though. I know that there are some parents that didn't like the grouping in the charter schools. Of course, I loved it because my children were always in the above average class. But there were some parents whose children were in what was considered the below average class, and they didn't like it because they felt like being around kids that were all underperforming, it didn't make their child want to do more. But as someone whose children was in, the above average, I didn't want them with the, lower performing students because I wanted them to be challenged. I don't want them to have to come in there and wait for the person, it's taking them 3 years to know that 2 + 2 = 4. I don't want them with that. But that's what I liked about the charter school because they did grouping according to ability. So I was one of those that liked that.
Yeah, Chris Rock.
Maybe, but whatever.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think at that point, then that's a conversation, and I don't have kids, so what the hell do I know? But I think that's a conversation then between the parent and the kid to be like, I know the brain is telling you, I don't want to try now. But Chris Rock tells a story about going to this basketball game and his daughter being benched and how his wife was like, now ex-wife or whatever, was like mad at the coach. Like, you should have put him in. And he was like, there's a way to get in the game. She could be better. You know what I mean? If she put in practice, if she put in work, how come all these other kids are not benched? Because they put in a lot of work. So if you want to get there, you can but that's a conversation you have with your kids and with your partner to build up that culture.
Right. Definitely. I remember my daughter was cheering and she called and was like, Mom, they had went to a cheer competition and she was like, Mom, we won second place. And I was like, oh my God, that's great. How many teams was in it? And she said 2. And I said, you didn't win second place, you lost.
Right.
Like, I hate to steal your joy, but if it's just 2 teams, there was a winner and there was a loser, period.
Right. And Asian
second place.
Right. Asian moms get a bad rap for being like, you can never impress them. And I'm not saying abuse, kids or whatever. Right. Or like be mentally, never give them a gold star or a hug or any of that stuff. But there's a reason why Asian countries, especially Asians that come here, are fucking killing it. They're killing it in every aspect of life because they had the structure and they learned they had the culture of, put your head down and work. No one's going to give it to you. You need to work for it.
No participation trophies.
Right. Were you always, I mean, obviously you're a part of the Walkway campaign, but were you a Democrat before, or did you think you were before? What was your story with that?
Yeah, I definitely thought I was. I'm technically registered unaffiliated, but since I was able to vote, I voted Democrat because that's what my family did. That's what a lot of Black people do. We vote according to how our family votes or the people around us. And I can remember loving Jimmy Carter. And I remember when Ronald Reagan won, my family had all of these negative things to say. I can remember my mom saying, oh, he's the Antichrist. and of course she was young. She had no idea, I'm sure. But just her hearing what other people were saying, oh, he's the Antichrist because his name, was Ronald Wilson Reagan 666, and he's going to be terrible. And so early on, I equated Democrats with good because we like Jimmy Carter and Republicans bad. So when I was able to vote, it just made sense that I voted Democrat. And we have this group here in my city called, the Committee on the Affairs of Black People. When you go to vote, they give you a sheet on who you should vote for. It's always Democrats. So here I'm thinking, well, this is the Committee on the Affairs of Black People. They are telling me, who are the best candidates for me as a Black person because they're Democrats. Then I guess, that's who I should be voting for. It wasn't until I didn't vote for Hillary in 2016 because I just knew I was not voting for her. I didn't like the whole hot sauce in my bag. I didn't like the fact that, yeah, I didn't like the fact that people used to refer to Bill Clinton as the first Black president simply because he blew a saxophone, smoked weed, and got his dick sucked. That bothered me. So it was like I knew absolutely I was not voting for her. But I thought something was wrong with me that I liked President Trump because people were saying, so much negative stuff about him. So I went in the voting booth and I voted for Jill Stein, though I had no idea who she was, what she stood for, what her policies were. I voted for her because I wasn't confident enough to vote for President Trump. Then the next day I saw people falling apart and saying, if you voted third party, then you voted for President Trump and it's your fault and I'm not going to talk to you anymore and I hate y'all. I mean, literally losing their minds. And I'm like, this can't be okay. Something's wrong with these people. And so oh my God, when they did the Women's March that January in 2017, I was so upset. I thought it was the dumbest thing. These women, in their little pink pussy hats and, calling this whole day without a woman. And I was really thinking, who fucking cares? And I was angry because I'm like, what do women in America really have to complain about? What are y'all whining for? We are, no one's chopping off your clitoris. No one's telling you that you can't drive. No one's making you wrap up where only your eyes can be seen. What are you whining for? We can do everything here that men can do. You can go get that particular job or whatever. What are y'all whining about? And it pissed me off so bad. At the time, I had no clue the difference between really left and right. All I knew it was, to me, it seemed like it was a bunch of white women that I felt like had privileged lives. What are y'all whining about? And so I was so angry with that march. I wrote a blog about it and I got a call from the Wall Street Journal and the final call, and just people thought the blog was just amazing. I still didn't know, yeah, this is how I feel and what, but as time progressed, I realized that my thoughts were more conservative, and I didn't really get a chance to notice it until I guess the Kavanaugh hearings. I've always been against, or since the white women hijacked the Me Too movement, I've been against it because I just felt like it was women that tried to use sex to get ahead. And then when the sex wasn't good enough, it was, oh, he raped me. No, you thought you were going to be able to manipulate him with your private parts, and they were trash. So I was against the Me Too movement. And once I saw what they were doing to Kavanaugh, and somebody just coming back years later talking about they were raped, I was furious. And so I had gotten kicked off Facebook by this time. I used to always put videos up on Facebook. So my friend was like, start putting them on Twitter. So I started putting them on Twitter and realized people flocking to me were conservatives. And I'm like, well, I think the same way that I've always thought. I just didn't know I was voting wrong, but I was able to really see just, I think that hearing just did something for me to where I had started looking more into policies and politics and stuff, But that hearing just really opened my eyes to a lot of the foolishness that was happening. And I kind of just been at it ever since.
Right. I not only do I think, and I talk, as many of the race jokes that I make and all the bullshit I talk about everybody, white liberals really bother me more than anybody. And I think the main reason is because a lot of them are acting without even knowing any black people. That's really what bothers me. They are they're people of color's heroes, even though they don't know anybody. They follow a couple of Black Lives Matter accounts on Instagram, and they think they now are a part of the thing, you know. And not only does that bother me because they have this weird little subconscious supremacy to it, but it also bothers me because I think the more you do that, the less black people or the less Puerto Ricans or the less gays, you know, the more you think it's a monolith. You know what I mean? Like I know black people who I don't like, and I know white people I don't like, and I know Puerto Rican people I don't like, and I know gay people who have done some horrendous shit. You can't just say black good, white bad. That's
exactly
that's not just, that's so minimalistic, and that's hurtful. It's hurtful.
Like I know a lot of everybody that I don't like. I know a lot of black people that I don't like. Most of the ones that's in the dollar store in their pajama pants and bonnets, I can't stand them.
SpongeBob pajama pants.
Oh my God. And I'm thinking, do you go home and get back in the bed in those nasty things that's been all outside? Like, oh God, that is just, I get like, I just start to seethe and loathe those that are in the store in bonnets and pajama pants. Oh gosh.
But not just that, but they also, not only are they lowering the bar for themselves, but they think that they're there because they're a victim.
Right.
It's that they made decisions. Or listen, there's a lot of people who grew up in some horrible stuff. You're one of them. We all have stuff that we grow up with. But the moment you say, I can't get anywhere because my life's too hard, you're giving up. And a piece of me just says, fuck you. Like a piece of me, like, you're really going to do that? If you're going to say, because there are people I know who grew up, I mean, Hunter Biden is a great example. Listen, he had a wonderful start. He had a wonderful, if there's anybody who could be set up to not smoke crack, it's Hunter Biden. And yet, because of his decisions, he got himself embroiled in whatever the hell, and he got into addiction and alcoholism. And I'm not killing him for that. I'm 18 years sober myself. I understand. But he got into that position. There's lots of rich white people who kill themselves every day. So the idea that where you get set up, where the circumstances you're brought into is now that's your story for the rest of your life is absolutely, it's so hurtful.
It is. And it bothers me because it's crazy. I can wear like my walk away shirt and someone can ask me what that means. And I'm like, oh, you know, it's walking away from the Democrat Party. And I'm just explaining to them. And white liberals especially act like, but how? How could you, I mean, like, how could you, especially now, how could you vote for Trump? I mean, isn't he racist? First of all, I don't think he's racist, but let's just say he hated black people. If the policies that he put in place have not been against us, why would I whine about him hurting my feelings? And I was talking to, like, I know someone that actually works in a charter school. His wife does not work. So he feeds his family from this check that he gets from this charter school. But his thing is, I just don't like his attitude. Who cares? I don't care if President Trump put on a pair of pink panties and swung from a tree and cursed us all out, calling us the N-word every day. If you got in there and you actually put policies in place that benefited my family, that's all I care about. Right. You know, I know someone right now in a bad position with the IRS, trying to catch up on paying taxes from when President Obama was, you know, former President Obama was in place. But he's like, yeah, you know, when it comes to my business, President Trump is better and I actually like his policies, but I just can't vote for him because I don't like him, then you're stupid. That is a clear definition of being dumb. Why would you want to go back to policies that actually hindered you, that affected you? You're still trying to pay taxes from prior to 2016, but you're worried about his personality? That's insanity to me. I don't care. You know how many people I dislike that I realize though that I have to get along with because maybe they're scratching my back and I'm scratching theirs, whatever. Like, why are we so focused on the man's personality? Now, personally, I love his personality because I feel like I can see myself in him. He can be just straight to the point, sharpshooter, doesn't care. That's me.
Right.
So his personality doesn't bother me. I like someone that actually speaks their mind and keep it naked. That's my thing. Keep it naked, be open, honest, and emotionally exposed. I love that. But I do get how some people don't like him, just like some people don't like me. But do you throw the baby out with the bathwater? Like, that's dumb. If he's doing things that benefit you and your family, who cares whether or not you like him? Who cares how much he tweets or whatever? It's about what's going to be best for you. And you got to be a special kind of stupid if you think that Joe Biden has been in office for 47 years and all of a sudden on this 48th year, he's now going to come in with a Superman cape and save the day. The man don't even know where he is most of the time. It's insanity. It's craziness to me, but this is what we're dealing with. And this is why I love working with the Walkaway campaign, because I know that even after November 3rd, there's still going to be work to do because there are so many people. I guess if we did ability grouping when I was in school, there would be so many people that was in the below average class.
Oh, if you did ability
if we did ability grouping when I was in school, some of these adults running around here would have probably been in the below average class. Or as I say, they were in the basement, in those basement classes wearing helmets.
I take a small difference to that. I think, yes, there are certainly some dumb motherfuckers out there. I'm one of them. Hi. But I think the majority of them, because I know some smart people. There was two in particular. Let me rephrase that. I think they have the capacity to be smart. I know they're kind. But there are two white women, surprise, two white women who posted this stuff about like, well, if murder is not a bad, if I'm gonna fuck it up. Anyway, there were a lot of people who were saying that's that same like, oh, someone posted something about white people need to shut up right now and just listen to black people. Repost. I think it's not all the time dumbness. I think the majority of it is they're hurt. I think they still have that resentment at authority, and so that's blinding them to the truth of what's best for them. Like you were talking about, what's best for their policy. Well, policy-wise, what's most important here? They get blind to it because they're just so mad at male authority, and who is a better representation to them? Trump is their fucking dad. Trump is their dad. They refuse to let go. Right. They refuse to let go and do the goddamn work. They refuse to get therapy or whatever you want to do. Meditate, God, whatever you want to do. They refuse to change internally and let go of that resentment.
Yeah, and maybe that's why I like him, because I always longed for a dad.
Yeah. And what bothers me, I was watching the second debate with, actually both debates between the presidents I watched with Little Mike Harlow and Johnny Coleman. And what bothered me the most, actually just emotionally anyway, was when Biden wouldn't even look at Trump and he just, I'm for you, American people. And just, it's just this pandering. I just don't talk to me that way. You hot sauce, I listen to who's your favorite rapper, Kamala? Tupac. Shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? That's the same thing with Buttigieg or whatever his name was talking about, how much he loved. Oh, de Blasio was talking about, I love ska. No, you don't. Shut the hell up. You're trying to appear human. You're trying to literally tap dance. You know what I mean? I don't want to be sold by anybody. I can smell it on you and it just turns me off really bad.
It's crazy because my 17-year-old, both her and my 15-year-old, we were watching the debates together. And every time Joe Biden turned to the camera and was like, but what about your family? But she got so angry that she said, stop fucking asking us questions as if we can answer it. I hate that. She was so mad. But I was just glad that even at their age, they were interested. Like, I didn't have to make them watch the debate. They were interested. They wanted to be there. They knew what time it came on. And, at that age, I could not care less about what was going on in politics, but they are actually paying attention. And it was funny because she picked up on a lot of stuff that I missed. Like, she caught him calling the Proud Boys the poor boys, and she's like, "Did he just say poor boys?" And because I'm tweeting and listening, so I missed them things. And then she goes, "Wait a minute, did he just throw Obama under the bus?" Like,
right. I saw that too.
And so he was making her so mad. She was like, he just looks like a liar. So people are paying attention, and I'm just grateful that my kids are way ahead of where I was at their age.
Right. And as much as in the Black community, people can smell, like, as far as in the rap community anyway, there's a lot of like, I can smell when someone's trying to sell me something, talk straight, blah, blah, blah. That's been a big fucking blind spot, is the Democrats and how much they've been selling that way and how much they've been hot saucing that way and how much, like, I mean, big, like Dave Chappelle used to talk about keeping it real or whatever, like, hello, keeping it real has that way. And in that version, it's not happening on the Democratic Party. You know what I mean?
Right. But you know what? I'm not really surprised, because look at the type of music that they put out for our teenagers to listen to, or our kids to listen to. They don't really care about the Black community. They don't care to the point where I would even expect them to call out the pandering or to call out the lies from the Democrat Party, because they get in front of a mic in a studio and put out music that tells Black people go shoot each other up, that says call women hoes and bitches and sluts, and you got even the women who love being referred to as a bitch or savage or what, so I don't really expect them to elevate to the level where they could say, hey, they aren't doing what's good for us, because then they would have to admit that they aren't doing what's good for the Black community either. So it's like they're all just bullshitting the Black community, from the politicians to the rappers to, the entertainers. A lot of them are on some bullshit.
I think it's kind of too late for a lot of them in that way. Like, I think it's kind of too late. I was talking with Mark Hughes, a comedian that I know, and I think the majority of the people who follow me, the majority of the liberals, at best, the best I can hope for is that, okay, they know one of us. You know what I mean? Like, okay, they may not listen to a Black woman conservative because they just put on their blinders, but at least they know you exist. So when it comes down to, because communism always follows this, eventually there's going to be shooting in the streets of, like, did you vote for Trump? And they want to, at least they know, they'll go, wait a second, I know Pete, and Pete's not evil. Pete's not dumb. So maybe I shouldn't vote for the guy who's going to shoot him. Like, I hope I can humanize motherfuckers at best,
Right. Yeah, I do feel like, people ask me how much hate I get. I get a little bit, but I don't think I get nearly the amount that some people get, because people that have been following me prior to me really being outspoken about politics, I do think that they believe me. Like they may be a little confused now that I'm voting for President Trump, but a lot of them can say, like, she's real. I know for sure she is who she says that she is. And though this may be a little confusing, we've never known her to lie to us. We never known her to try to intentionally lead us the wrong way. So I am grateful for that. I think people understand that while there are a lot of people that are on the outside looking in and trying to be judgmental that they may not really vibe with, they realize that a lot of what I say is coming from me being on the inside looking around. So I grew up in a Black neighborhood. I went to a predominantly Black elementary, middle, high school, and then went to a HBCU. So you can't say to me, oh, she hates herself, or she doesn't like her own people. No, you can't even try to use that, because people that know me know that that's not the case. So while they may be a little confused, I've gotten messages that says, thank you, you're doing a good job, or I'm proud of you, or you helped me to see things a different way. So they try to, take my Black card, whatever that's good for, but I am the cookout. You don't got to invite me, but I am the cookout.
And the majority, and I talk about this all the time, the majority of the Black girls who, because let's be real, the Black guys are more, they've got a life outside of the protest. I think what's the gas in these Black girls' tanks is the power that they feel of being around white women. The power that they feel around, because all white people will go, what do you think? I'm just a piece of shit. I'm sorry for being who I am. And that feels good. That evil little animal that's humans, that feels good to have that power. And so they will use that. But those women are no fun. Like Ta-Nehisi Coates or whatever his name is. I'm totally messing up. The guy who wrote the Black Panther movie.
The name. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the one who's like who championed, like, I'm gonna have the talk with. He literally, I'm gonna have the talk. He like published the talk with his child. Like, no one wants to hang out with that motherfucker at the cookout. No one wants to hang out with that guy. He's always going to he's going to cut, not only, it's the 90s version of coming to the cookout in a dashiki, like wanting to, you know what I mean? Like, look at how Black I am, everybody. Exactly. Like, all right, stop, you know what I mean? Like, so I want to talk about this before we stop. We have like a couple more minutes. And it's something that was the main bad news for me. Like when I started to realize that I wasn't all that liberal, I'm like, okay, it's going to be a little uncomfortable to have some conversations. There's going to be some people who get mad at me, but fuck them. But when I realized, oh no, am I pro-life? Oh no. Like, cause I had all these judgments about pro-life people, that they're unfunny and frumpy and they're all white. And they're like all this misconception. And I saw your that wonderful video Brandon showed of you just taking that white kid down at the Black Lives Matter protest. I'll post it. And you talked about all the Black babies that are being killed every day. And you said it yourself, you're a product of rape. So was there ever a point in your life where, I mean, did you ever come to that conclusion that you were anti-abortion, or was it something you just grew up with? What was it for you?
No, so I made a lot of people mad because prior to getting kicked off Facebook, I put a post up that said, get rid of abortion. I've already had mine. So there's a lot of people that were like so mad at that. Right. But I grew up pro-life, and I don't know why. I remember falling out with my really good friend. I'm not going to say how good, because then people may know who it is. But we fell out because before she was 21, she had 3 abortions. And I felt like she was using it as a method of birth control and being irresponsible. And, I was so upset with her, like literally in tears. And I don't know if it's because I'm a product of rape. I don't really know, but I just felt like it was so wrong. But I also tell the story of having a 1-year-old and getting pregnant and feeling like I didn't have any other choice. And my mom, like, okay, he's not helping you with this first baby. So, what are you about to do? I had an abortion, and I remember being in the abortion clinic and asking, because they do an ultrasound before they actually do the procedure. And I was 7 weeks pregnant, and I asked the doctor, like, is it a baby? Because here I am, I think I was 22 at the time. Is it a baby? And the doctor said, oh, no, it's just a clump of cells. And so I went through with it, but I was devastated. Like that entire night, I just felt like I could hear a little boy's voice saying, Mommy, why'd you kill me? Like it really just tore me to pieces. And fast forward years later, I'm married, I'm pregnant. And instead of being 7 weeks, I'm 6 weeks. So it's time for me to go for my appointment. And they did the ultrasound, and the obstetrician gynecologist goes, oh, look right there. There's your baby's heartbeat. And that should have been such a joyous occasion. It took me all the way back to when I was 22, 7 weeks, and they said, oh, it's just a clump of cells. And I was in that office in tears, because I'm like, if this 6-week baby has a heartbeat, then I know for sure at 7 weeks, there was probably a heartbeat. It was more than a clump of cells. That just kind of brought me back to realizing that it's not okay, and while I can honestly say, I don't think if a woman is raped, she should be forced to have the baby. I know that a lot of conservatives want other conservatives to take that position, to be like, I don't care. You should just, and you would think because I'm a product of rape that I'm just like, oh, you got to do it. I don't know how my mama made it through. I'm glad she did. I'm grateful that she did, but I don't know how it would feel if someone raped me, a complete stranger, in the woods, in a path, going to cheer camp, like, they did for my mom, and I had to carry that baby. I just don't know how I would feel about that. So I am not one of these people that are like, you got to carry it. I don't care. I do like the except for rape and incest. Personally, I like to consider myself pro-life, except in the cases of rape and incest, just because I don't like the thought of, for me, that is the woman absolutely having no say in anything. Now, a woman that's out here just spreading her legs and living life like it's golden and won't take responsibility, won't take accountability, I don't think she should just be able to just, I'm 4 months, I'm 5 months. Now I don't want the baby. I'm gonna have an abortion. I don't like that. I just don't like that. And I know people say, women should have the choice, but what about men? Because a man can't make you have an abortion, but you can make him pay child support. He doesn't have any right or any say at all. And I just think that's a little unfair. Although growing up, my mother would always say, mother's baby, father's maybe. So, like, huh?
What does that mean?
So, like, for one, it's your baby. It may be, the guy is like, maybe it's mine, maybe it's not. Or know that you have to take responsibility for this child, and the guy, maybe he will, maybe he won't. So my mama would always tell me, mother's baby, father's maybe. Like, if you get pregnant, this is on you. But I just think there are things that are unfair. I don't like the fact that a woman can decide whether or not she's going to carry a child that she willingly made, but then the man doesn't have the right to say, well, I wasn't ready for a baby, so I'm not paying child support. Men don't get that option. And I just don't think that's fair. Right. And I know I went rambling. So, but
no, I appreciate it. No, I appreciate it. I mean, my last episode was like 35 minutes of me going, nah, nah, nah. So I appreciate, but I mean, it really is one of those big, heavy things. I never thought I would be against abortion. Never. Even now, it feels uncomfortable to like even say, because I'm just ready for a white chick to come out and say like, you're not allowed to. But I've seen a lot of one in particular. This black girl on TikTok was like at a Planned Parenthood Did you see this video where she's just a cell phone video? She's out of Planned Parenthood. And she's like videoing inside the door where they have a Black Lives Matter sign, and she's like, look at this shit in this Planned Parenthood. How is Planned Parenthood for Black Lives Matter? And they took the sign out. She's like, she took the sign out. Get them out of our neighborhood. Like, Black people are not all rah for abortion. It's
right.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a disconnect of you can't just change your principles when it's convenient.
Right.
You can't say it's a clump of cells or I want it based on it's a clump of cells or it's a baby based on whether you want it or not.
Right.
Planned Parenthood literally said to what's her face, John Legend's chick, I'm sorry for your loss because they had a miscarriage. It's like, why would you say that if you're willing to say that at 9 months? Because you said 4 or 5 months, that's legitimate already. But they literally made laws where if they try to abort the baby at 9 months and the baby still comes out alive, then it's between the doctor and the mother if they want to kill it when it's outside the womb. Like, come on.
That's crazy. And it's funny because I'm seeing now all of these stories and they're like, yeah, Chrissy Teigen, talks about her son. Oh, it's her son. But I thought y'all don't want it to be a baby at that. So, but because it's her, we're going to talk about her son as she grieves her son. But you all kill babies way further along than Chrissy Teigen was every day.
Right.
And it bothers me. And I wonder what's happening to the morals and values and the conscience of people. At 22, I was devastated by an abortion. I felt terrible. But I see people having 2 and 3 and 4, and I'm like, my gosh, where are y'all morals and values? And why don't you just use protection? Like, you don't have to get pregnant. I'm not telling you, okay, because people take the whole religious stance, well, if they waited to marriage, well, I'm telling you right now at 45, I want to try the milk before I want to drive the car. So I'm not waiting. I want to see what he's working with before I walk down that aisle. I'm too old to be.
You can't tell from a picture. You cannot tell from a picture.
I need to know beforehand. So I get the whole wanting to test drive the car before you take it off the lot. That's me. I'm going to test drive it. And I need to make sure that it's working right. I don't want a lemon. I don't have time for that.
Right.
So I don't take that whole stance. Well, if you would wait until you're married. So I'm fine with you, test driving it, but you got to do it. Wear your seatbelt. You know what I mean? Like, be safe. And the people are just out here, you don't want a child with this man, or this man knows that he don't want you to be his child's mother. And you're just out here being unprotected and silly. And, I'm all for being responsible and having accountability. And to me, you don't get to just be out here being irresponsible and then a child has to suffer behind it, whether it's by abortion or you bringing it into this world and mistreating a child. I just think that's wrong.
I'd like to close with one more question if you're down with that. One more.
Oh, I'm down for it. That hour went by so fast because
I know, right? It's because I'm a joy to be around. I'm the best in the world. And time flies when you're but just to sum all that up, do you feel, because I know personally, I know what the white liberal angle is. I know, because I don't know, just personally, like I know a lot of like Mexicanos and I know a lot of Latin people who are not all down with this liberal shit. They don't want to say Latinx. They want to say Latina or Latino. They don't want to, they're not, I mean, come on, let's be real. But I know what the white angle is. A lot of it is guilt, right? And subconscious supremacy. What do you feel? Is it a lack of value in themselves? Like, what do you feel is the Black angle for voting liberal, for being so vitriolically Democrat?
For Black people? I think it's just, first of all, I think it's hard to be told that you've been doing something wrong for so long. You know, I think you gotta a lot of times swallow your pride and realize that we're still learning. No one knows it all. And it's okay. You know, I look at my grandmother who is 86, who has been voting Democrat for a very long time. She may not change, you know, because who am I to come here, you know, have her age and be like, well, but grandma, I think that's wrong. You know, I think when you've been doing something for so long a certain way, it's just hard to change. And even people that may be my age whose parents have told them this is the right thing to do by voting Democrat, you know, it's not easy to go against your family. It's not easy to go against what you've known to be a fact or you felt to be true most of your life, you know. And so I really think that's what it is. I don't think anybody really wants to suffer, but I think it's really hard for them to swallow the fact that they may have been doing it wrong for a long time.
Right. And there's
Yeah.
never, not only is it okay to make mistakes, but you know, Shelby Steele talked about, like, I had him on a few episodes ago, and he talked about how, like, or maybe he talked about it in his movie, but he talked about, like, no one's ever come out of slavery, come out of Jim Crow and know what to do now. You know what I mean? Right. There's never been like a system. So you're going to try things out. Some things will work, some things won't. You're going to try some other things, and don't be afraid to, like, you know, and we can try to help. We, you know, by equality, you know, but like, so far, the whole, we're going to lift you up, we're going to affirmative action, we're going to give you money and more money and more money. It hasn't worked. It has not worked. That experiment of how to make everything even Stevens because you guys suffered is not working. You know what I mean? As much affirmative action as we throw at it, black people have the highest dropout and the lowest scores. So that whole affirmative action thing is not working. So that same thing, you know?
Right. I think you could give people $100,000 now. Without their mentality changing, these same people that are broke would be broke even, you know, after a while with that $100,000. The people that have a different mentality would take that $100,000 and multiply it. So, you know, for me, I think we need to do a better job educating people, and getting them to have a different mindset, because just dropping things in their lap, this whole free everything, that's not going to solve the problem. That is not going to fix it. Until you have a real mind change, you're gonna be in the same position. Just give it time. You're gonna go right back to the same thing.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time. I know it's late, and you know, I appreciate your flexibility. Where, please, again, can people find you and your book and all your stuff?
If they go to ShemekaMichelle.com, that's ShemekaMichelle, ShemekaMichelle.com. Find me there. You can find me everywhere.
Lovely. Wherever you're listening, make sure you subscribe, ladies and gentlemen, and leave a review and rate it and share it and all that, blah, blah, blah. And remember, if you're white and liberal right now and you're not sharing this, it's because you're a racist. You can find me on Instagram at Peter_Feliciano and TikTok at CONSERVATISH and all that other stuff. Thank you so much, Shemeka. I'll go ahead and stop the recording now. Bye.
Thank you.